Hey class, good afternoon. I wanted to let y'all know that week one's discussion boards are up and they are graded. Let me say, first of all, that overall the grades are pretty good. Of course, the first week I'm always a little bit more generous just because I want to give you a feel for kind of what I'm looking for and how to best answer the discussion board questions, as well as how to best go about replying to your fellow students. But let me make just a few comments really quick before move on to this week. First of all, make sure that you proofread. I know that may sound redundant, but it is important that you walk through not only your original posts and proofread those, but also take a few minutes to proofread your replies. Often the greater errors are made in the replies, but I think for most of you that did have a lot of spelling or grammar issues, and I noted this in the comments, it's just simply proofreading. I think will eliminate, clean them up, and you won't have to deal with it anymore. So just proofread, and if you need another set of eyes, get a spouse or a child or a friend to look over it really quick. Second thing is, want to make sure that each and every week as you answer the discussion board questions, make sure again that you answer each one of the questions. Well, let me restate that. Of course, you answer 2 questions each week. Answer each part of those 2 questions. And for the main parts of those questions, make sure you answer them thoroughly. Now, a lot of times there will be like an opinion question at the end, what do you think about this, or what do you like best? You don't have to be as thorough with those, although answer those questions, but in terms of the questions, be as thorough as possible. Give me all the details, all the facts of the main components of the question. That's important, all the data, and I think that you guys will do really well. Third thing actually are the replies. I'm really looking for in the replies is for you guys to make a contribution to the students' learning. The replies are not just there to give you busy work. They are a pivotal part of the learning process because it allows you to look over a different question than maybe you answered, but also to critically evaluate how the student answered that question based upon the textbook reading and other sources that you may have at your disposal. And so I want to make sure that you use critical thinking. It's important. I want this to become a very really substantive part of the weekly discussion board. So just use critical thinking, evaluate. I don't need to see a lot of, well, this was a really good post and this is why I liked it. That's really not that important. I mean, if you want to make a short little comment, I really enjoyed your post, that's fine, but then move on to more of the critical evaluating of the student's post based upon the textbook readings, and maybe even offer a different perspective than what could have been offered, whatever the case might be. But just use critical thinking. I think that you'll get the hang of that as the term moves on. Now, another thing is the citing of sources. Now, here are the requirements. I know that you should have read them, but let me go over them really quickly. For your original threads, you have to have 5 sources. 5 citations. Now, you can use textbook or other sources, but make sure you cite your sources in a footnote format. I don't need a bibliography, no parenthetical references, and the Bible does not count as one of the citations nor as a scholarly source. If you want to use the Bible, please feel free to do so, but just place that in a parenthetical note at the end of the sentence, such as, have a parentheses, then like Romans 3:23 end of parentheses period, so that I know where you're getting that from. But it doesn't count as a citation nor as a scholarly source, so make sure you realize that. So 5 citations for your original post, and then you must have 2 citations per reply. That's per reply, and again, the Bible is not considered a citation nor a source. So make sure you use those sources properly. The other thing is, make sure you check with, the style manual. Liberty Divinity School has its own style manual in which you can see how you are to best cite different kinds of sources in a footnote form. So look over that. Also want to make sure we recognize really the importance of just citing properly. And what I mean by that is, what I want you to do is read the textbook information and digest it, but don't just simply quote it back to me in your discussion board post. I want to see that you've digested it. Write it in your own words and footnote. Good writing has very few quotes and a lot of footnotes because you're using sources. And make sure that every time that you use a source, no matter for anything, if you use it, if it's part of a thought, you have to footnote it. You can't just have a long paragraph where you're basically, stating word for word what the book says and then have a footnote. It doesn't work that way. That's not appropriate citation. So make sure you look over that, read through some of that so you can do that properly, and I'm sure you'll get better. But you have to cite your sources, period, or that's called plagiarism. This coming week, you've got your first quiz at the end of the week, and those are always challenging. So make sure you spend time studying. I'd go through all the relevant chapters and highlight and review your highlighted material so that you can know where the material is, so you can find it if you need to during the quiz. But although historically, the quizzes have been somewhat difficult for the students, many students do well. So I think if you study, you're going to do great. You just have to discipline yourself to carve out some time so that you do study. Sorry about that. This week's discussion board, it's pretty straightforward. There are 3 questions. You have to choose 2. Now make sure if you're going to choose the quests for the historical Jesus, you have to give me those dates, the pivotal scholars that are involved in each quest, and also what describe to me the quest. What were the important factors of that quest, of each one? There's 3 of them. Now you have to, you got to be fairly thorough with that. So make sure you do a good job. Then there's various criteria for attestation. How do you determine whether something is credible, historical? I think that's a straightforward question. There's 4 of them, and you just have to make sure you list them and you define them very clearly, so I know that you know what they are. And then the last question has to do with the dates for the birth and the ministry and the death of Jesus. Now, the biggest mistake the student makes with this question is they don't provide the pivotal pieces of data that help establish those dates. And most of those pieces of data are outside of the New Testament. Some are in the New Testament, but some are outside. And you need to have all those pivotal pieces and make sure you answer each part of that question, because there's a lot of different parts that sometimes get left out. Anyway, you guys are off to a really good start. So just keep on trucking, and I'm sure you guys will do a great job. Have a great week. I'm always available if you need me. Shoot me a quick email, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. All right, guys? Have a great day.